policy perks.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Not available in every state. Only available at select Farmers branded policies underwritten by Farmers Truck or Fire Insurance Exchanges or affiliate.
Mike and Felicia Sparks, owner of the Vanity Zone Salon, want to invite you to stop in for your next haircut or color. Their stylists Michelle, Tori, Tracy, Brandy, Sarah, and Gail offer the best creative cuts and color for all ages, for men and women. The Vanity Zone is located at 732 Nissan Drive in Smyrna, to the right of the Crystals Restaurant. To look and feel your best, visit the Vanity Zone Salon today. Call 615-355-1721 to book your next appointment.
At Dr. Automotive in Smyrna, we're committed to providing local car owners with top-notch auto repair services. With over 2 decades of experience, our ASC certified master technicians are experts in both foreign and domestic vehicles, ensuring accurate diagnosis and timely, cost-effective repairs. From oil changes to major engine and transmission repairs, we've got the cure for your car. Dr. Automotive, keeping your car running smoothly, mile after mile. Visit our website, smyrnaautorepair.com.
This is Conversations with Mike Sparks.
Are you concerned with the state of America, your state, your community? Then you're in the right place. State Representative Mike Sparks. He and guests are here to talk about local politics, history, faith, and freedom.
All right, it's Mike Sparks, host Conversation Mike Sparks. Connor, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
How's school?
I graduated, remember?
No, I don't remember. I said to myself, watch him already graduated. Man, I get so much going on, I can't keep up.
I didn't have that note.
When did you graduate? December? In December?
No, in the spring.
Did you walk?
Yeah.
You did? Okay. Did you tell me that?
I think so, yeah.
You probably did. Okay. What's your degree in?
Media management.
Media management. All right. Why'd you go choose a subject like that?
Why'd you?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what got me involved with the fake news, brother. I was like, oh, heck no, they ain't doing this. And in fact, I got a guest called in about 5:10. If folks don't believe there's fake news, false narratives, you hang out with me for a little bit. You listen to this show, and I will prove it. I will easily prove it. And that guest that'll call in at 5:10, if folks knew what happened to him, which the mainstream media will never tell you, what happened to my good buddy John DeBerry, and John marched with Dr. King. We're going to pay a little tribute to Dr. King, but he'll call in about 5:10, and you just follow the narrative of what happened with John, which it's hard to follow because the mainstream media doesn't tell you. I'm going to tell you about it. I think it needs to be told, but before we hear from John, Jeremy Smith's our trusted intern. How you doing?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
How's your job search?
It's coming along. That's
good.
Got some stuff in the irons, so we'll just see how things pan out. But yeah.
You still in school?
Nope.
No.
You
graduated too?
I graduated too.
Well, you got your master's, didn't you?
I wish I had a master's.
You got a second bachelor's.
Yeah, I had a second
history.
bachelor's, yeah.
That's right, in history.
Yeah. I wish I had a master's, bud.
Why don't you go study a subject like that, history? Why does history matter?
We got to learn from it.
You know?
Got to learn from it.
You know what Dr. King said about history?
What'd he say?
He said, we're not makers of history, but we're made by history.
Yep.
You know, we are. We're all subject of history, you know.
Yeah. We're making it every day.
So are you still applying in Alabama?
That process is, I've done the interview process. I'm waiting to hear back.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
And that's going to law enforcement, right?
Yep.
Because you did your, what would it be called? Not apprenticeship with the state? With
internship.
Internship with TDEC?
Not TDEC. Yeah, it was TDEC.
TDEC. Mm-hmm. Yeah, were they good to you?
They were. I actually did a return interview for them just to see if I'd be interested in coming back.
Yeah.
So I would say, yeah, it's an option. It's a possibility. But
stick around it, you know, and pray about it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all done great last week. My wife and I, we were supposed to go out of town, but with the weather, you know, my wife, she was scared to go anywhere, so we didn't go anywhere. So I just sat back and listened to y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all
Mark
did a great
was awesome.
job.
Mark was awesome. Shout out to Mark.
Ken Hayes.
Yep.
Celebrate Recovery.
Yep.
Man, they rocked it.
Oh, yeah.
You know, we need to do a show like every 90 days and just dedicate it to Celebrate Recovery.
Absolutely.
And if folks aren't familiar with Celebrate Recovery, folks are there's a little theme. It's hurts, hang-ups,
and
habits. And is that it? Well, we all have some kind of hang-ups. But anyway, Celebrate Recovery, Hope Fellowship Church on Lee Victor Parkway. they meet over there. Floyd Barrett, my good buddy, he does a men's small group over there on Thursday nights, and then I think Friday nights they have it at 6.
Yeah, according to his Kent Hayes' business card, that it's listed like the days that they meet.
And they are changing lives. They're making difference. You know, I don't know, other than Christ himself touching someone's heart, I don't see another program that exists in the world that can change men's hearts and change women's hearts and change lives more than Celebrate Recovery. Now, there may be a program out there that someone, if there is, text me, 525-3198. Yeah. I've seen it really change men's hearts.
The road to addiction recovery is spiritual. It's a spiritual journey.
It really is. Yep. And, you know, something I heard Barack Obama say, and I hope none of my colleagues get mad at me for quoting Obama, but one thing I like what he said, and he says, therefore, by the grace of God go I. And I've never dealt with addiction or alcoholism or anything like that, thank God. I probably got other problems, you know, but I'm going to tell you, the Lord, I just see so much brokenness in this world, but I appreciate you going on there with them. And
it was really fun. I love to talk to Mark. And so,
you know, Roger, Thomas, how you doing?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey, you had your harmonica out earlier.
Yeah, I got it out.
Yeah, you were playing Amazing Grace. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, when are we doing that?
And
you doing it on the way over here?
Yeah, I did it on the way here. Just to do
well,
it.
we're hoping, you know, Stewart's Creek Band, I'm sure everybody knows that they're not, they're still in D.C., my understanding. The band director talked to Michael Chester last night about it. They're still in D.C., but I think they canceled the inauguration parade. They're indoors. So some things have been changed around. But I told them every time I've ever seen things that have a hiccup or something, God's usually at work. There's going to be something better out there. But I don't see how those kids. I mean, how would you even perform music as cold as it is?
It's possible. It's just those instruments that those kids have. I mean, cold affects them. Woodwinds. It's wood. The mouthpiece, brass can sometimes warp with cold weather. Yeah, you were gonna say something.
So when we went to Chicago, when I was in the band, what they did is about 30 minutes before we were to march, they just had us blow through our instruments, just get them warm.
Yep.
So that way they'll, as best as they can be.
How cold was it when you were up there?
In Chicago?
Yeah.
It was cold. I don't know how cold.
You know, my wife and I visited D.C. I've been there a few times, but we walked around and
likewise,
man, it was so cold. My wife, she couldn't handle it. We had to pop in
I went in the summer. I went in the summer and it was hot. So.
Oh, it was.
It's the steaming. Never mind. I'm not going to say what I was going to say on the air.
It was rough, you know. But I was just telling my wife earlier. I said, I don't know how these kids are going to even function.
Yep.
With as cold as it is, Bart Walker called me yesterday for a quote, and I said, Bart, you're the first one to tell me. But I know Senator Haggerty, Marsha Blackmore, Scott Desjardins, Lynn Davis, and Brittany Montgomery, their field reps will be taken care of. And they've been back. He was telling me they were back and forth with them talking last night. But I'm really after them to play Amazing Grace, which is Tennessee's official state hymn, and I hope they can perform that. Someone said that someone sang Amazing Grace last night at some Trump event. Did you see it?
I didn't see that. I think that someone probably did at his the inauguration pre-concert.
Judy
something
Garner,
like that.
I think it was in my Sunday school class that mentioned it. You know, and I think he's going to work on that harmonica to play a rendition of Amazing Grace next few weeks, aren't you?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah. I
powerful
just kind of
hymn.
Yeah, I hadn't picked it up. Harmonica so long, maybe here and there just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
There's not an instrument on this world that can stir the emotions than bagpipes playing Amazing Grace.
Oh yeah. I told you I played them while my mom was dying, and I never shed a tear. My mom was ready to go, man. I'm gonna tell you that hymn. It was like it was truly medicine to her soul. When you hear medicine to the soul, it was truly because she was under a lot of, you've heard me say it, hospice care and pains and moans, and man, when I started playing those. If you go to YouTube, type in Amazing Grace bagpipes, you'll see. I mean, that you'll see that song there, and it calmed her down. Music's a powerful tool. You know, see, all three of you guys are into music except for me. You know, I don't play anything. You know, Connor, do you play music?
I don't play any instrument.
You know?
Oh man,
pick something up. Pick something up.
I figured Connor was the guy. You
guitar.
Yeah,
he looks like a rocker.
Yeah.
You know what?
I used to do the piano in middle school.
You play piano?
In middle school.
Well, but that's something.
Well, good
That's
for you.
still,
I haven't done it in about 10
You know, when I was 12 or 6, if somebody would have told me if you could learn music, you could pick up chicks, I would have started strumming away on a guitar,
Where are
banging
they?
on a piano.
Where are they, Mike? Where are they for me?
Well, I met my wife. Man.
Well, he's got a hot
stole my
wife.
heart.
Something worked. I don't know how this happened. Have you ever seen
She
his
stole
wife?
my
I don't know
heart.
what happened there, but
She's 15, I was 19. People said we'd never make it, you know.
Hey.
But I do think music is a powerful tool, man, and that's where I'm hoping that Stewart's Creek High School can set a great example for the state of Tennessee. And I got to mention them on the House floor the other day, and also shout out to my intern, Tiffany Parker, that worked up here. She's going to be my intern, but sadly she was in the hospital, man.
Oh, man, what happened?
She had, hope she don't mind me sharing.
You
She
liberty
had
to say?
pneumonia and some blood clots. And if she's
man.
listening, sorry, Tiffany, if you don't want me to tell
we
that.
just seen her right before that, didn't we? She was at the chili cook-off.
Yeah, she came
yeah,
in. Her
that's
and
right,
Terica came in. Marvin came by. Did you go to the...
I was
yeah,
there.
you were
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Oh, man, we had a great time.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, what's the largest event you had at Sam Davis home?
That's got to be it.
That was it?
That had to be. I started counting. I said it's 160, maybe that's closer to 180. I mean, if you count all through all day long, the Men of Pope and the car people, everything, mid-10 hot rodders, all that.
Who was Michael Morton?
Yeah, Michael, Christy, and and Tracy
Armstrong,
Pugh, and let's say Tracy Morton, Mike's wife. Yeah, they're the three that I actually I know all of them.
You remember the chili winners?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because somebody said people think it's rigged.
Oh,
I
he
didn't think
knows.
it was rigged.
He knows the winners.
It was my
He
cousin.
knew he knew ahead of time.
And he ended up winning 2 door prizes.
Yeah, your
him and his
cousin.
wife.
Your cousin
And his
wins it
500
all.
things. I didn't draw it. It was your wife and Laura North was the one doing that, drawing the
Yeah,
winners.
your cousin won,
Yeah, I didn't have nothing to do with
and
that.
then all of a sudden your cousin won the door prize. And all of a sudden your cousin's wife won the door prize. I
well,
looked
she's the one
around.
that's actually my cousin, but
Is she?
I seen her the other
Jeffrey
day.
Gill
Yeah, I seen
and
her.
Angie.
Yeah, I seen her the other day, and I saw her. And I said, "Hey, I've been accused of rigging that." I go,
Well, I was even like, "This is my own chili cook-off. Maybe it is rigged."
Yeah, Mike kept
You
looking.
know,
Wait a minute.
I was like, "How did this happen?"
He's over in the corner racking up. Look at all the stuff he's carrying
Danny
out.
Brewer took.
There were suddenly 81 million votes for the winner.
Yeah, but it went good. My buddy Tori Caudell, if any of y'all know Tori Caudell, great people, and who was the guy that took third? I didn't know him.
I know who you're talking about. I don't know his name.
He had seen it on Facebook, and he won the mayor's choice. So shout out to Mayor Mary Reed that judged the mayor's choice. Judge Terry Fan, Judge Robert Stevens, and Craig Harris that came in and judged it. But man, I mean, Roger, you worked hard on that. I appreciate all the efforts you did. Pettis Reed was a great speaker. Jenny.
Oh, we had didn't we
Williams.
have a bunch of?
And your
Didn't we have a
other
bunch of good
cousin
speakers?
spoke. Who was your other cousin?
Which one was that one?
The one that about Stony Lonesome.
Oh, she's not my cousin. Her mom was my teacher, and her mom was my 3rd and 4th grade teacher. Not that I flunked.
Yeah.
It was 2 classes in a room. If you was one side, it was 3rd. Next year is a 4th. That was O. Jefferson.
Yeah.
That was Miss Summers, and that would be that was Joy Leonard. Joy Summers Leonard. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yes.
And Toby Francis.
Yeah, Toby was a late. What happened, Miss Victory? She had to. Her
Francis
husband had to
Crick
go to the
Victory.
hospital for Toby filled in. We had Dr. Murphy, of course, Pettis.
Marty Loveman.
Yeah, and Johnny Johns, Dr. Let's see, John DeBerry, and we had who was before John? Mr. Jones.
Oh, Charles Jones,
Yeah,
94.
90
Hey,
yeah.
you know, he owns some. I had
You
heard
ever
that he
looked
owned
at
that
Milky
farm.
Way?
No,
Yeah,
he
you
owns
looked
a
it up.
Milky Way farm
You
out
looked
in
it up?
Giles County.
You ever looked up that place?
He
owns it.
The founder of Mars Candy Bar.
Yeah, he
Mars
had that
Candy.
place there. It's in Giles County,
It's
right?
1,000
and
acres or something.
yeah,
He's been on the air with us.
Yeah,
He owned part of Hickory Hollow Mall.
we know him actually pretty good. He's a chili cook-off. He's down there eating some chili.
Oh,
Did
he
you
had a
see him?
good time with it. I guarantee
Oh
you.
yeah, he had a good time.
You know, he called me, wanted to help me on my campaign. I ain't called him back.
Really?
I've been busy. I
Well, he can help on my
chance.
campaign. I've got one going.
Seriously, I shouldn't share on the radio, but he's just a great guy. And he's got such a good heart.
We'll come.
He wants to talk to him about. I think it's some philanthropic giving where you for housing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You
he
know,
talked about that.
and he bought the house that Brenda Bryant's in, and finally, I think she went ahead and was able to get a mortgage in her name.
Yeah.
But he paid off a lot of these. I think people got trapped in that payday loan.
Oh yeah.
Check into bankruptcy, get your title back, lose your title with Title Max, those groups. And I think he paid off $85,000 in loans for people.
Oh, we get back to music. Paul Lamb and the guys, they sounded really well. They sounded really good.
Yep.
And, you know, Mike, it ain't so much you have to play the guitar or anything back in, because I know the groups you liked back then, like the Village People, people like that, they didn't play instruments. They were dancers. I guess he was more into dancing and stuff like that, I'm thinking.
That's me.
Yeah.
I like the Village People. What can I say? I liked them when I was a kid.
I bet they're going to get cold and hard stuff they run. Oh, they'll be inside, won't they?
Who wears the leather? The cop? No, who wears the leather? That's the biker. I like the Village People. I like the song. I like the message.
Everybody does. It's a catchy song.
I haven't listened to the lyrics. No, I haven't listened to the lyrics.
It really is good. They're good.
You know,
that might be your. Yeah.
Is that my caller? Yep. Speaking of the Village People, is this my buddy John DeBerry? John, how you doing?
Doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing good, sir. Do you know who the Village People are?
Oh, yeah, I know exactly who they are. YMCA.
Did you ever get to meet any of them?
Well, there's a long time ago on a tour when I was working in TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one do you remember talking to? The Indian, the biker, the cop?
I was behind a camera. I wasn't.
You worked the camera. Now, what TV station do you work with?
I worked for BBJ in Jackson. I worked for WHBQ in Memphis, and I would work for CBS or ABC or even NBC whenever they were coming through as a contract.
Oh, yeah. Did you enjoy that?
It was fun back in the day when I was a young fellow. Didn't mind carrying around a big, heavy camera.
Yeah. The was the media more accurate and fair back then than they have been in recent years?
Well, the media was professional then. You know, if the media took the responsibility of telling the news, not creating it.
Yes.
And telling what was happening and not commentary. And, you know, what we see now is not news. It's and it's a shame because it does a disservice to the country. It does a disservice to the people.
Yes.
When the media is functioning properly, it helps everybody. I mean,
yes, sir.
Good, bad, or indifferent, just tell the truth.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily the case now.
You know, I was just sharing, I was talking about, you know, why I went back to school to, you know, finish a second degree in media, really because of the false narratives that I personally have witnessed. So you know, one of my favorite scriptures, John, is 1 Corinthians verse 27, where it says, God will use the foolish things of the world to confound the wise and the weak, to shame the strong. And God will use, I've watched him use chaos and conflict to move people, to shape them, to mold them, to give them conviction and passion. And what they done to you, what the Democrat Party done to you by taking you off the ballot, to me is proof of how the media, they really weren't there for you. And I know we've talked about this, hate to sound like a broken record, but has anybody really ever told your story? I mean, has CBS reached out or Roland Martin reached back out to you after all the positive stuff that's happened?
No, really, there's so much to talk about over the last few years, and having the opportunity to work with Governor Lee and yourself and others of my colleagues. I think the media is not interested in the truth about my story or the things that you do or the things the governor does.
Yes, sir.
Or I'm not sure that they even care about letting folks be truly informed about the condition of the country or the condition of politics. I think it's all about making folks believe what they want them to believe. And so no one has ever reached out to me about my position. I mean, they'll write something negative about it, but as far as sitting down and talking to me about what I do and why I do it, no.
Yes, sir. Well, obviously your story doesn't fit the narrative, and that's where God really had a plan for your life. Just like Joseph was, you know, sold out by his own brothers, and you think, how can a loving God allow such hardship for Joseph? Falsely accused, had to go to prison, suffer all that, but God still lifted him up and elevated him. And my understanding, you correct me if I'm wrong, but you're the first African American to be in an office in the first floor of the state capitol. Is that true?
That is correct. In a building that was built by and a lot of the work were by enslaved people.
Yes.
I'm the first African American to have an office on the first floor of the Capitol, right there by Trey, Secretary of State, right down the hall from the governor, and to be with a bunch of good people, around the good people in the cabinet that the governor has assembled. And, you know, and not just that, Mike, but to be there and be part of what folks like yourself do. I know you don't take a lot of credit, but you're a game changer. You're a fighter. You're the type of person that stands in the gap. Whether or not people always agree with you or me or any of us, you know, it's rare to see people who will not compromise their convictions. And that's one of the things I've always appreciated about you.
Well, any little small success I've had is just because of the good Lord, that's all. Or a solid wife that has stood by me. Well, you, speaking of wives, you lost your wife, what, 7 years ago?
Yeah, I lost my wife for a little bit more. I can't believe it's been this long. I lost her in November of 2015.
Yes, sir.
And, you know, it's coming up on 10 years. It seems like it was yesterday. My daughter and I were talking the other day, and I can't even remember the first 5 years after she died. I think I just kind of walked around in limbo for years there. But God has been good. He has kept me busy. He put me in a position to where I could be relevant and work with good people, and I thank him so much for it.
Yes, I know. I stopped by Debbie Stevens' office, you know, Mark Pody's assistant, and you know, she lost her husband after 52 years. I was asking her, you know, how she copes with that. And, you know, in your world, and especially your world being a minister, you know, you see so much hardship and, you know, and people that are just suffering, whether it's somebody battling cancer or losing a loved one. What did you do to kind of cope with that? What helped you get through?
What helped me get through, Mike, I'll just be real frank about it. Of course, it's something you just mentioned. It was my faith, first of all. To have a good woman in my life over 45 years who had worked with me and suffered with me and encouraged me, especially for so many years at that particular time, for well over 20 years in the House of Representatives. And I had a wonderful home. I had two wonderful daughters that she helped me raise, or that she raised with my help, I guess I should say. And they both are very strong married women, and they encouraged me, and they've been there for me since George's passing. So I think that the Lord had a plan, as you said. He kept me busy. I did a lot of traveling and speaking. My job changed and working with the governor. So, you know, I think the Lord kept me distracted so I couldn't sit around feeling sorry for myself.
Yes.
And, he kept me busy, and that's one of the things that helped me.
You know, we had that mental health event at Motlow College here about 6 weeks ago. Chancellor Flora Tidings came in, and she's going to be asking for more money in the budget for counselors in our community colleges, and she was very gracious. It was well attended. Monty Burks, you know, Monty with faith-based groups, with the governor's faith-based initiative. Mental health and substance abuse commissioner was in, and volunteer behavioral health, and it was well attended. But Caleb Hemmer, Democrat out of Nashville, came in. I invited Bob Freeman. You know, Bob lost his dad recently, and I knew it was kind of awkward for me to ask him, but I didn't. It was probably a week after, and he said he was going to come out, but he had so much going on trying to prepare his dad's funeral. And I talked to him the other day, because some people I think may find relief in talking about it. But just the other day, that the new lawmaker that lost her son to the Waffle House shooting, I hope I'm saying her name right, Shondell Brooks. She sits behind me. They moved Justin Jones up to the front. With all due respect to Justin, but they separated us, and she sits behind me. And I was asking her, I told her sorry for your loss. I don't really know her, but I was asking her how she coped, and she just said, being involved in the issues and trying to make an impact, and I was telling her, I said, you all, a lot of those folks ought to think about just getting together, whether it's, I know they do a prayer meeting, but people that are just battling grief. I mean, I've never had to battle grief like other people have. I mean, I've lost family members, but I've never lost a child or a wife, Now, you spoke Tuesday at the prayer event, and I apologize. I walked in and sat down, and you were closing up. I'm sorry, the traffic from Smyrna to Nashville is pretty chaotic sometimes.
Oh, I know in the morning time that traffic is atrocious. So I was just glad to see you, Mike.
Well, now who's speaking next week? Do you know?
I don't know. He didn't make an announcement.
I think he said Charlie said that I believe it was Dave Ramsey was going to be speaking next month, February something.
Well, yeah, I remember he said Dave was going to be speaking. I don't think he's speaking next week, though.
Yeah. Well, one reason I want you to call in is the Dr. King tribute, and just share your experience as a young man. You share with me, because one of the first things I done when I got elected was to come see you. I know it may sound crazy, but I want to just get your thoughts on the General Assembly and kind of what's going on, and you gave me some great advice. And when I mentioned Dr. King, you told me you were at the mountaintop speech.
Right. Yes. Well, the Lord blessed me to be there.
Well, what do you remember most about that? And that, if folks don't know, that was a speech Dr. King gave before he was assassinated.
Right. What I remember most, it was a very tense time, Mike. I guess as a young teenager, I did not really understand things as much as, of course, as my father and mother did. And I didn't understand the dire life and death consequences of what was going on at that particular time. What I did know is I saw a change in the demeanor of Dr. King progressively over that 24 hours, from the times when I had an opportunity to be there in the marches, sitting outside with many of the other young folks as he and other leaders met. That speech that night, on that stormy night, you've heard me say this before. It was
yes, sir.
A terrible, terrible stormy evening. The weather was awful. The place was not as crowded as it would have been were it not for the storm, but there were still a good number of people there. But the thing is, Dr. King, his demeanor, the way he began the speech was, you could tell that there was something on his mind, that there was something that was unnerving him. He got stronger as the speech progressed, as you might watch it.
Yes, sir.
And you would notice that as he progressed, it was like he resigned to the fact that he was in danger. He resigned to the fact that he might not leave Memphis alive. And I think that he turned it over to the Lord, and his faith carried him the rest of the way. So I think by the time he said he had been to the mountaintop and he had seen the promised land and that he might not get there with us, and that was something that sent chills down my back when he said that as a young man. But I think by the time he made that particular part of the speech and he made that particular statement, he was where most Christians are when we turn it over to the Lord, when we allow our faith to embolden us, encourage us, and assure us. And we know the Lord is on our side no matter what happens. And as Christians, you and I both know that's something that someone without faith will never have, because then that's when you find what Paul called that peace that passes understanding.
Yes.
And I think that during that speech, as he looked into the eyes of young folks like myself and others of those sanitation workers who put their lives on the line also, he turned it over to the Lord, and I think that was one of the things that made the biggest impact to me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I remember you telling me that, and I was just kind of just shocked and surprised, just asking for advice. And I'd always admired that speech, and because he sounded like he knew he was in his last hours, if not last days. I mean, there's a parallel. I mean, you look at Donald Trump being how many assassination attempts, Roger? Is it two? Two
reported.
Yes, and the band Stewart's Creek High School in my district was going to go play. They're up there now, but they're not doing the parade, so they had to move some things around. I'm trying to get them to play Amazing Grace up there. That's Tennessee's official state hymn. Senator Akbari out of Shelby County, out of Memphis, carried that for me on her side, and I'm always grateful for that. And she did that on her own. I never even asked her. Marvin may have.
Ramesh is a good person.
She is.
Has always been a straight shooter. It's not about, and I've always said this, and you and I have both said this. We might differ on some issues. We may be on different sides of pieces of legislation. We may even be in different parties. But for a fact that for years that did not divide us.
Yeah.
When the Democrats had the majority and now the Republicans have the majority. But the majority of the time on Capitol Hill, people would fight it out and duke it out on the floor and then walk out and go have dinner together because it wasn't personal.
Yeah.
It wasn't something that you carried with you, and you weren't angry at the person, and you didn't call that person names and attack their family, their integrity, their patriotism. But now, it's all personal.
Yeah.
And people can talk about folks in the most ungodly fashions. And what I appreciate about Ramesh is she doesn't carry herself like that.
Yes.
And so, yes, I can see her carrying that bill.
Yeah, she's a sweetheart. And Karen Camper is as well, and Karen's
military, so she carries herself, yes.
Yes. I was going to tell you I had something pretty cool happen. Two things that was cool. I talk about God-wink moments, synchronicities. I've got this school bus legislation, which I think will really help spur young people to become drivers. I had a nice text from a young man of the day that said he was wanting to drive a bus since he was 6 years old, and he's looking forward to this legislation, which I'm confident will pass, just bringing the minimum age requirement from 25 to 21. So some media outlets reached out to me. Channel 2 did an interview with me, and I left the interview, and I knew the NAACP had invited me to come be a guest at MTSU yesterday. So I got my assistant to get me the number, and I called David Settles, and David is on the Murfreesboro City School Board. And so I hadn't talked to David, and, it's probably been a couple of years. And I said, hey, thanks for the invite. I'll do my best to make it, as long as I don't, something come up. And I said, you want to come on the radio with me? He goes, yeah, what time? I said, come up about 10:20. This was, last week. He said, oh, that'll work out. I said, that'll give me time to finish my school bus shift. And I said, do what? And he goes, well, I drive a school bus for Metro. I said, you drive a school bus. And it was, the odds of me calling him, I got my school bus legislation. He's on the school board. And from what I know, David likes the legislation. If he's listening, I hope he likes it. But one thing he shared, and I said this with the little reporter, that he said something on the radio that was really pretty intriguing, John. He says, I'm the first the first face a child sees, and I'm the last face that they will see during their days of being in education. And any help you can give me on that piece of legislation, I'd appreciate it. But John is also the president of NAACP. I didn't know that. And so I went there yesterday, and I think I'd been before, but it's been several years back. But I believe it. Judy, I think it's Whitesell. I'm sure I'm chopping up her name. I think she's a former Democrat chairman of the party. Paid for our tickets, and as far as I know, Shane Reeves was there, Joe Carr was there, and they had a nice award. What's the award called?
Jerry Anderson.
Yeah, and you knew Jerry Anderson.
Well, yeah, he's a little bit older. He was he graduated Central in '72.
Yeah,
and I went to Central in '72. The last year it was there before they come out.
Tell
Riverdale.
John who Jerry Anderson was.
Oh yeah, he actually when he was I think it was around 1988 or '89. He actually saved 2 kids that was drowning in the river, but it cost him his life. And they have the Jerry Anderson Award now, and I believe they gave an SRO.
Dustin Cox with the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, they gave out an award there.
No,
and that's
Dustin, great young man.
That's when the light went off. I said, Mike,
Yeah.
I know this guy. And I can remember just being a laid-back guy. And he actually played, ended up playing Tampa Bay, I think, for a while.
Was it?
Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He was just, when I'd see him around the gym, old Critchlow, shooting ball and stuff, he was just laid-back guy, a good guy.
Yeah.
And that told me then, 1989, I said, I guess that's a good, good judging character.
Yeah, true hero.
Yeah, because he was a good guy then, and what does he do?
Yeah, it was really congratulations NAACP for hosting a nice event, and Shane Reeves was a sponsor. Dal Smith, my neighbor, was a sponsor, and David called me out in front of 300 folks. It was really, really nice. He just said, appreciate Sparks, and he don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, rich, poor, whatever. He's always listened to your issues and concerns. But shout out David Settles on that, and a lot of the alphas were there. So it was a great event, and it was honored. There was another police officer in Murfreesboro. I don't remember the guy's name, but they honored him, or a couple of officers, for helping some folks during a fire. And so glad to see NAACP supporting our law enforcement and really our local heroes. Yeah. Well, John, going back on Dr. King, I mean, you've seen a lot of the hardships that your father went through, and I always appreciate you talking about the sign that he brought home. Can you tell us about the sign that your dad brought home?
Well, back during the marches, I remember when my father brought one of the signs. We had a neighbor. He had a very close friend. My dad, being a veteran, he had started to work for the government, the post office, and other different agencies at that particular time, which was a good job for an African American man.
Yes.
But one of our neighbors, one of our friends, was a sanitation worker. He brought the sign home, and when you first see the sign, "I am a man," it's rather confusing, especially as a young boy. Myself and my brother, being young men, that was very confusing. Why would you have to have a sign that says "I am a man"? And there are a lot of things that my father explained to us. I understood, being the oldest. My younger brothers and sisters may not have understood as well. But it was a powerful statement. And to see those men, many of them put on their Sunday best, and they held those signs, and they walked bravely down the streets of downtown Memphis holding those signs. It's a sight that will be burned in my mind for the rest of my life, watching it. And the main thing is, Mike, is that the way they carried themselves, they were courageous. They were not loud. This stuff we see today on television, where people are burning and pulling down monuments and breaking in college campuses and burning school books and the things, and the flag, and urinating on the flag, that wasn't anything like that. These people were patriots. They were veterans. They were church men and women, black and white, Jew and Gentile. They were folks who carried themselves in such a way that if you put a camera on them, they were an example of what it means in America to stand, to protest, and to make their voices heard. Yes. And they put those signs up like shields, and they march forward. So this is something that I wish this generation could see and really appreciate. A lot of them talk about Martin Luther King, and they may not go to school or get an MLK holiday, but many of them don't have a clue what that man or that generation stood for, what they fought for. and how they changed the world.
Yes, yes. Well, I always appreciate your passion. If folks want to see really the most passionate House speech I've ever witnessed, just go to YouTube, type in John DeBerry, you'll see the speech. I mean, you kind of brought down the House, and I mean, you know, it's a powerful speech, man. It is pretty wild. And you're a Church of Christ guy too, aren't you?
Yes, I've been that all my life.
Do y'all say amen and clap?
Oh, absolutely. We say amen. We sing. We want the Lord to know that we appreciate Him and praise Him.
I'm just telling you, you know, there's a lawmaker, Todd Warner, who wants to name the Nashville Airport Trump International Airport. I've seen that in the news. And Todd's a friend of mine. But I always kid him because he's Church of Christ. I'm like, I was kidding about not clapping and not no musical instruments. And Pettis Reed, you know, you and Pettis are close. I was at y'all's event, 2 years ago at that revival. And like when you talk, I mean, it's just natural for me being a back row Southern Baptist to start clapping and say amen. And I'm like, nobody claps or nothing in here. And I had been to Church of Christ since I was like 12 with my buddy Willie Winfrey.
I went to his speech at the Church of Christ on East Main. And
I
was there. Yeah, I was like,
the night I was there.
And I remember you talking about it. I was like, wow, they really don't do it.
Yeah, and if Pettis is listening, Pettis is a great guy. Hey, also in our last couple minutes here, I know you were close with Edith Moore. You know, we've been wanting to save that old house of her grandfather's, and it's just so rough. Pettis looked at it, and like Pettis said, he said, Mike, there's just nothing to save here. He said, nothing but memories. But there's the school across the street, and shout out to Daily News Journal, Scott Broden. Nice story. There's still the school called the Cemetery School, John, and man, there's still desks there from the, mid-'60s. The potbelly stove is still in there.
Oh.
There's still books in there.
Wow.
And really, that to save that school and rebuild it for a meeting facility, whether it's Black History with Mary Watkins, African American Heritage Society, Rutherford County, that really, to me, is the place she needs to be. So any help you can give, put a word into the governor as far as a budget request or something. You need to come over here and tour it one day. It really is a piece of history that all of a sudden just, you know, when they integrated the schools, they just left that alone. And it's pretty much like it was when they left.
Well, that would be a great thing for you to come over sometimes, Mike, when you're there and during the session. And maybe you and I can sit down with Jim, and you can tell Jim, who is the Commissioner of Finance and Administration,
yes,
and he's a good guy, the governor's a good guy. Both of them are concerned about preserving history.
Yes.
We went on a history tour this year to some of the historic spaces with the Commissioner of Tourism. And they are very, very much concerned about making sure we save some of these historic sites.
Yes.
So it might be good for you to come down when you can and maybe talk with Commissioner of Finance, Commissioner of Tourism, and let them know how important this is to that area.
Yes, it really is. If folks aren't familiar with it, just go past the battlefield. Right there by the gravel pit, there's a Methodist church. You turn in there, and it's back at the back. And, you know, John, like I've shared with you, a lot of these folks, like the late Dr. George Smith, Bo Washington, Bo was an educator for maybe 50 ye's. A lot of them, you know, John, they're passing away, and these stories, sadly, are passing with them. You know, there's just not a lot of history being preserved. So if David's listening, hope to get them involved, hope to get the Rutherford County Commission involved, and Pettis Reed and Joe Carr and Craig Harris and some others. I know folks do care. Their commissioner, I think, is Romel McMurray. But I'll circle back. Also keep my intern, Tiffany Parker. You know, she was in the hospital last week. Hopefully she'll be up next week. And I think you've met her. And I know you met Terica out of Memphis. Remember Terica?
Yes, I do. I remember.
She's got a lot of the footage of Edith's place, and I was hoping to kind of help her. We had about 300 resumes for a new press secretary. She didn't make it, but keep her in mind. That little girl's going to be a little rock star. Both those young ladies are going to be rock stars in the media. If you know anybody that's that needs a press secretary or or in any field. Tiffany's with WKRN News now, and she's going to be part-time with me. Well, John, thank you so much. I know we didn't really get into the governor's education choice. Really, in a quick 2 minutes, tell us why this initiative, this Education Freedom Act, is important.
Well, education itself and the freedom for parents to choose is what is important to me. Going on all the way back to the time when we integrated the schools in '68, it wasn't about raising our fist or simply going in black people into a white school. The schools we were at, our school was a great school with black teachers, and all the students looked like me. But they did the best they could with what they had. But
Yes,
at
sir.
that particular time, in the mid '60s, that school did not have the same things and was not offering the same things
Yes, sir.
as the white school.
Yes, sir.
My father integrated the school as a matter of parental choice. He chose to send us to a better school. It was a good fit for us. It was great for me and my brothers and sisters. And it's the same thing today. That's all the governor's trying to do, or those who are trying to do it. They're not trying to destroy public schools or make people do anything. They're simply trying to give folks a choice that they can decide on what's best for their children.
Yes. And education is the great equalizer, no doubt. My former assistant, Marvin, who's out of Memphis, he's worked for Office of the Courts now in law school. And in fact, he just texted me something just now, a little funny quote or something. But he's, I predict that young man will be a judge one day. And education's, right. That's what's lifted him up, Well, John, thank you so much for all you do for the great state of Tennessee, sir.
Well, thank you for what you do. And who was I talking to? Who's with you?
I've got Jeremy Smithson. He's our trusted intern. And I've got Roger Thomas. And I don't know if you heard me talk about my friend Freddie Hahn that was killed in Iraq. His son is sitting here with me.
Okay.
Say hello, Spencer.
Hello.
He was just 4 when his dad lost his life in Iraq. And I'll tell you what, Spencer, won't you? I sold his dad a truck when I had my car business, and his dad told me, he said, Mike, I've been deployed to Iraq. And my mother happened to be there at my car business, and she heard him. And my mom would pray over everything. I don't matter what it was. You said you had a toothache, my mom's praying for you. And we prayed with his dad and for his dad. And sadly, he never made it back from Iraq. We've seen it in the news. They still got the truck. So, Spencer, tell the listeners, and John, what you called me last month. What'd you tell me?
So, my grandfather finally gave me the truck.
Yeah.
So, the truck is officially mine.
So, the truck that I sold his dad, who lost his life in Iraq, his grandfather gave him the keys of the day.
Yes.
Isn't that cool?
Yes. And actually, come to find out, I was looking at some more paperwork. He was deployed back in June of 2004.
Well, I couldn't remember. Did you see when? You don't see the bill of sale when I sold to him.
No.
I couldn't remember what date it was. I just remember it. It seemed like it was 6 or 8 months later. He never came back. But what was so cool about this, John, was I trained him to take my place, and I had to go to day shift, and then I was only there for about 3 years until I left, and I trained him, and then at his funeral, they mentioned so many awards and medals, and I thought, this guy never said nothing about that. I mean, literally, I worked with the hero and didn't realize it. So, if you ever come through Smyrna and see the road, Sergeant Asbury Hahn Way, right in front of Nissan at Steak and Shake, Heritage South, that's in honor of his father. I had Marsha Blackburn in there the night before the election, and that was a cool story, man. Did I tell you about that? Y'all bought everybody's lunch. Did I tell you that?
The first time it told me about that. But one thing is for sure, we appreciate your father's service. We are so proud of the fact that he served his country and gave his all and his last measure of devotion. And that's one of the reasons why folks like Mike and myself fight as hard as we do. It's because people like your father has given everything for us to have freedom.
Yes.
And so I hope that you and your family, that God will bless you and continue to bless you. And I hope that truck will run for many, many years.
Yes.
It's not stopped.
Yeah.
Not for 2 centuries.
How many miles you got on it now?
166.
166. That was a nice GMC. It really is. But John, I think Spencer knows this, because Spencer witnessed this. You know, we put this event together, and they kept moving the date, but it was like God had a plan. They put it the night before the election. So Marsha Blackburn came in, and I made the comment, I didn't get to invite the other family of another road we got named, Raymond Mitchell. He's 21. He was killed by a sniper. And Spencer, you remember what happened?
Yes.
Tell John what happened.
So the manager comes up to me and says, "Hey, I Googled all the names of the roads over here, and he never could find out why that middle one is named Ken Plankton, but he Googled the road name, Mitchell.
Yeah, right, Mitchell.
He ended up finding the family, getting in contact, and inviting them himself."
John,
Wow.
you know what was so wild? I told Marvin, who was helping me, and my wife, I said, I feel so bad I didn't get to invite the other family of the other fallen soldier. And the Lord worked it out. I mean, he used a manager from Pennsylvania, Steak and Shake, to have the family there. And it was so cool. I was telling Senator Marsha Blackburn about it. And I told a story about Freddie, and I could see in her eyes she started to get a little choked up. And what was so cool, though, earlier that day, you know, I bought everybody's lunch, and sometimes I'll do things, and I'm thinking, am I crazy for doing this? And, you know, and I asked, it was a black girl at the front of the line. I was like, ma'am, do you mind if Spencer and his mom, Angie, could be the first customers, you know, I told them about their dad and husband. And she said, oh, honey, you go ahead. And when she left, she looks at me, she pointed at me, and she said, honey, I want to tell you, I appreciate you buying my lunch today, like that. And she's walking off, and I'm kind of thinking, yeah, I'm at $100 on this stuff. You know, is this crazy? Man, Marvin loves Wendy's. So we went to Wendy's the next morning. Guess who's behind the counter?
Who was that?
That black girl. She goes, I said, you look familiar. She goes, yeah, you bought my lunch yesterday. I'm buying y'all's today. Like that. And then I had a hater. I don't know if you know what a hater is. Do you know what a hater is, John? I seen a hater driving through the drive-through. This is a true story now. And he waved at me. I'm in Wendy's, and the dude waves. I mean, we're okay now. And he waved at me, John. And Peaches is a girl's name. She works out there on San Maria Parkway, Wendy's. And I told Peaches, hey, go buy that guy. I'm going to buy that dude's lunch. And Marvin goes, oh, you ain't going to buy his lunch, brother. My mom always said you kill him with kindness. And he was out in the parking lot. He goes, man, you shouldn't do that. I said, brother, it's called karma, man. I said, it comes back around. I mean, we're okay now. I'm not going to say his name on the radio. He did help Stewart's Creek High School $1,000 if he's listening. So shout out to so-and-so. But anyways, Marvin was just tripping out. But it was like God had a plan. Even though we lost his dad, God is still in control, and I don't understand why he's gone, and I'm at the Capitol, but one day I'll find out. But thank you, sir, for all you do for our state and for others, okay?
Well, thank you for having me on today, and it was an honor and a privilege to be with your other guests. And let's just all pray for the next 4 years that God will bless this country, that He will continue to bless America, that we can really do the things that kind of restore a lot of what we have lost and restore our pride, and most certainly restore our appreciation for those who have given so much to make this country what it is.
Yes.
So thank you for letting me be on today.
Thank you, John. I'll catch up with you.
I look forward to it.
Take care, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That I think a lot of John, and you know, we forgot John was a speaker the other day.
Yeah, yes, he was. He brings the house down, doesn't he?
Man, he really does.
He really does.
Well, a couple people had never heard him.
Yeah.
You had somebody mention to you the other day. Well, Jenny Williams was mentioning John.
Well, yeah, she said this is about being this is the place that event we had. This is the second year. It's been so large, big. Yeah. She says this is kind of the happening place in Smyrna now to do every year.
We packed the creek out, and we got to sit with Mr. Rakes.
Yeah.
I mean, so he
was it packed or not? No, man. I never got no paddlings in high school. Who gets paddlings in high school? I don't know anybody got paddling in high school.
It was cool to see Mr. Rakes. You know.
Did you, Jeremy, know anybody?
And y'all get paddled?
I didn't. I was
Spencer, did you ever get paddled?
No.
No.
Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody ever go? Oh, wait a minute. How about you, Mike?
I got my butt busted a lot.
Mike, I was in JRTC. The wrath of Sergeant Major Nelson was enough to make me behave in line.
Yeah, my wife even got paddled with Mr. X. My youngest son got paddled with Mr. X. I think my father-in-law may have got
There's a song. There's a song there.
He did not play around. I wanted to share a quote talking about the media. This is a quote that's really cool by Edward R. Murray. He said, "To be persuasive, we must be believable. To be believable, we must be credible. To be credible, we must be truthful." It is as simple as that. And that's Edward R. Murray. So if folks don't believe that there is fake news, false narratives, that story of John DeBerry, even Terica, who's out of Memphis with a graduate degree, I said, no reporters ever covered this. So hopefully she's going to do an interview with him. But John is just a phenomenal guy. I know we're wanting to, something Rogers won't talk about. We want to do a cornhole tournament here pretty soon to support Sam Davis Home and the print shop.
Yeah, the print shop. Been talking to Jason a little bit, and they're going to try to get something going as far as the cornhole tournament. You know, Mike's the I guess the national champ.
Well, I have one tournament.
A trophy he's holding is bigger than him.
He's a big deal in the cornhole world.
Hey, Jeremy, we'll knock him. We'll get kicked off station. We'll get
so if if they want to enter, we're going to get this together.
Yeah, we're going to get it together. Don't know any details now. We're just throwing it around. If anybody if interested, throw it. Get with me and Mike, or Jason over at the print shop.
Yeah.
And this is what kind of interest we got. And he's talking maybe around.
I'm down. I like cornhole. Yeah.
And he's talking about around what is it, St. Patrick's weekend maybe or something like that.
Well, if Deputy Chris Beach is listening, and his Uncle George Croft, those are the guys that we kicked their tails.
Oh, okay. So it was more than just two people in that tournament. Okay.
Chris hadn't got over it. So, Chris, if you're listening, we'll get you some counseling, brother. Hey, thank you, Jeremy Smithson, Connor, Spencer. Shout out to your father and the difference he made, and congratulations on that pickup truck.
Thank you very much.
And Roger, thank you so much for all you do.
Aunt Dot, I love you. Okay.
Oh yeah, your aunt listens. She's 90.
She'll be 96 February. And her neighbor Teresa, she's a new listener.
All right.
She told me to mention that.
Yeah, and thank you, Marty, for producing that proclamation for Dr. Nash and his lovely wife, Tricia. Folks, we'll catch up with you next week.